October is by far the biggest art challenge month of the year. I mean, there's Inktober, Drawtober, Painttober, and Peachtober. The one that I took part in. It's been a couple of months. Shall we have a look back for a sketchbook tour? To be honest, this Peachtober was kind of a disaster. I was really busy, so the start date kept being pushed back till it got to the point that I could finally begin. And then I had some spontaneous plans crop up, and I had to rush to finish the entire challenge. So I actually completed Peachtober in 9 days, and I think that explains a lot. This is the sketchbook I've got for this year. It's just a Royal Talens art creation, but the front cover is so pretty. Unfortunately, the paper quality does let it down, but the cover's really pretty, and that's kind of why I got it. And it also has white paper. I feel like we need some decoration. It's been a while since I filmed one of these. There we go, I got some decoration. It's a little bit prettier now. This is the title page. I like to start with a title page just to introduce the art challenge. Otherwise, you have a load of random pieces and it's not exactly clear which one's a Peachtober. So this and the page that you'll see at the end really just slots it together nicely. This is watercolor with colour pencil. It's a very cutesy, loose style, and when I first did this, it really put me off wanting to use watercolour at all for this challenge. It went so warped, but I think it's actually settled a little bit now. It does seem a lot flatter. And the first prompt is Daisy. There were lots of different routes for Daisy, but in the end, I chose the nostalgia. So I did a Nintendo DS Lite with flowers coming out of it. I think part of the reason that the background is so patchy, because it was negative space, I had to go around every single one of these flowers whilst doing the background, and that meant that it just dried way too fast. I think what I should have done is just done the entire background in purple and then done these in like acrylic marker or something. Overall, I think it is quite cute, but I probably should have used a ruler. Moving on. The next prompt is Sparkle. This one does look better in real life. I can't seem to get the metallics to photograph well. It's alcohol markers, and then I added some metallic gold watercolor on top. The watercolor actually doesn't act like watercolor, it acts more like gouache, so it's actually really easy to pop it on top of different mediums. One of the big problems that I had, which I don't know if you'll be able to tell, the forehead is massive. So basically, I did all of the skin tone first, and the hair is like pink. It'd be difficult to make it go on top of the skin tone, but the forehead is huge, and I tried to add some shadow to try and make the forehead a little bit smaller, but I mean, let's be real, it should have ended about there, and it just keeps going, and that's the biggest problem with this piece. Moving on, the next prompt is Pour. This one is a little bit crazy. It's alcohol markers with water markers with scrapbook paper. I really wanted to use my paper supplies somehow. I finally got a cutting board and a cutting knife, and I just really wanted to try it out. One of my big art inspirations is Emily, who makes these collage pieces that look incredible. I've actually got her art on the wall from the big small business haul I did, and I really want to do collage more because it's so fun. This was just a taste. I was planning to do more, but honestly, collaging takes a lot longer than you think, so that's why I didn't end up doing any more. The prompt is Sky, and I used my gouache palette with Neocolors. I think the Neocolors did slightly save it a little bit. It's fun. The fifth prompt is Fawn. I used Indie ink and created this cute little deer with the parent deer behind. This Peachtober I did something different. I actually did live streams for the first time, and it was a lot of fun. We planned every single piece together in 4 different live streams, and a lot of people had cooler ideas than me. This was one of them, with the silhouette being behind. The trees are actually my fingers. I feel like you can almost tell, but it's only really obvious when I point it out. But I use my fingers and my thumbs. I like to have one fully ink piece. Number 6 is Sketch. I used gouache and a little bit of colour pencil for this one. It kind of has a lo-fi look with the patchy brush strokes, which honestly I kind of think they work. Half the face is sketched and half of it's been painted. Number 7 is Bud. This one didn't go to plan. I used Neocolors and I tried to use it with water. The background isn't, but everything else has been used with water. It was really difficult. The little buds with the line work, I do like that. I think that worked. I just couldn't make this vase work. The rest of it just doesn't really. Number 8 is River. I created this cute little mermaid. It's alcohol markers and colour pencil with a little bit of gel pen that you can kind of see dotted about. I do like it. I really struggled to get the anatomy correct, but I've not really drawn a mermaid in alcohol markers on good paper, so I wanted to give it a try. I am thinking of taking part in Mermaid next year. I took a year off and kind of missed it, so I'm really excited to draw more mermaids. I think the biro has kind of come through a little bit. Can you see that? I had to swap to pen because when I used pencil, the sketches completely disappeared. There are actually sketches on this page, but you can hardly see them now. 9 is apricot. So I drew a cute little apricot boy. Last Peachtober, I drew a lemon boy. And I think this one is a step up from lemon boy. This one's a little bit random. 10 is Pixel. So this is actually a load of sticky notes stuck down. I literally just filled in each box. It was actually a lot of fun, and I tried to do something kind of inspired by this for the 24-hour challenge that I did recently. I kind of did a pixel snowman, and it probably would have been easier if I stuck in the sticky notes, but I didn't think of that. This was a really fun technique, and that's kind of what this Peachtober was about. I filmed every single piece from the entire challenge. It's up on my channel. And I mean, for Inktober, I just used India ink. For Peachtober last year, I used coloured ink. And this year, I wanted to have fun. So there was no theme, as I'm sure you can tell. Honestly though, that did kind of make coming up with ideas a little bit easier because I wasn't restricted to a certain medium. But it does mean that this Peachtober is not cohesive at all. The next prompt is wheel. This one was a little bit funky. I mean, you can kind of see the acrylic marker went a bit weird in some places, probably because they weren't shook for as long as they were supposed to be because I was kind of rushing. Also, I think in an ideal world, I would have used tape because you can see that that's like a really wonky border. It's a concept. I wanted to try something different, and if it's done well in future, I think it could look good. This is just an idea. Ooh, okay, number 12 is Earth, and this is one of my favourites. I used alcohol markers for this one, and the reference was from a library. So the Earth element is just a globe. I love the colour palette. I love that it looks like a bookshelf without having much detail on it. And I really like this spiral. It's a little bit extreme, but this was actually on the ceiling of the reference that I used. I just kind of extended it a bit. I really like this one. This is one of my favourites. Next up is Cape. This is Little Red Riding Hood in my art style. This red is cadmium red. It's one of my favorites. And the border was kind of an impulsive decision. I was supposed to go right to the edge, but I quite like it. I kind of thought the scratchy look kind of works. But the big problem that I can see is I was a bit lazy with the face. I just kind of used skin tone, blue around the hairline and like pink for blush. I really did just use different skin tones. It was lazy, but I did this quick. I did this in about half an hour. But ideally, I would have done a little bit more prominent shadows and highlights and stuff. Number 14 is Burrow, and this ended the second week. I'm really happy with how this piece turned out. It's alcohol markers and colour pencil. Obviously they're like in the hole, but I really like the frame around the outside. I thought that was a cool idea. And I think these stars worked really well. It's colour pencil on top of alcohol markers, and I really didn't think they'd show up this much. But they do look good. I usually use gel pens, but I'm actually a fan of these. The middle rabbit turned out so much better than the side rabbits. The side rabbits didn't use a reference, and I think that shows. Starting the third week with Lamp. This was a fun one. It was really quick. I used coloured ink. I wet the page, added colour, and then used the India ink for the lamps. It's a really fun style, and I've actually done a few portraits in this style. I do want to test it out for landscapes because I really enjoy making them. Number 16 is Owl. This one ended up being a lot of people's favourites, but I'm not a huge fan of it, and I'll tell you why. In my head, I was not picturing the lines to be this thin. They are brush markers, so you can get various line widths, and I just really wasn't expecting it to be this thin. I thought it was going to be like more lumpy colour, but I would have liked the colour to have been in blocks rather than lines. This is Slow. It's a very simple piece. It kind of introduced me to using watercolor on this paper again, trying to give it another try. And honestly, it's not too bad. Like, it's not that warped. I tell you, when I wet the page, it dried instantly. It was kind of a nightmare to work with. Watercolor can be really difficult if you're using different paper than what you're used to. It's not necessarily that the paper is bad. Lots of people will use watercolor in different ways with different techniques, but if you're not used to it, then it can be very hard. Recently, I've been using the Cardi and the Arches. Both of those are 100% cotton, so it was just a little bit hard to go back to this. It's a steampunk hot air balloon, and it matches this next prompt, which is Fast. Again, a very simple style. I actually love painting galaxies. I paint them so often. I did one for Peachtober, I did one for Mermaid and March of Robots. Galaxies are just a lot of fun. I recommend if you haven't tried them. So their prompt was crocodile, but I actually already drew one the year before for Chomp, so I didn't really want to draw another crocodile. This idea came from the live stream, and I had no clue whether I was going to pull it together or not. It's a face that's green and kind of scaly with crocodile tears and crocodile eyes, and I think I managed to pull it together. I had no clue whether I actually would or not. I think it's a cool idea. Next up, I used alcohol markers for the prompt Rest. It's a cute little kitty, but I do think the background is a bit too similar to the other one. It kind of means it doesn't stand out as much. And funnily enough, it was actually a lot easier to draw an animal with their eyes shut than a human. I cannot draw humans with their eyes shut, so I was a little bit scared going into this one, but it worked. The next prompt is greenhouse, so we've got like a little fairy greenhouse in a tree. It's alcohol markers for the background and the greenhouse, and then acrylic for the closer elements like the trees, the vines. I like the greenhouse, kind of looks like glass, which was what I was going for. It's a very odd concept though, it's not really what I normally draw, so it was quite nice to experiment. This is Village. It's acrylic markers with some Neocolors on top, but the Neocolors didn't save it like they did Sky. I tried to make it a little bit abstract, but I just don't think it worked. Looking at it now, I think one of the big problems is that I didn't have many shades of green. They're all kind of the same shades, and that's why there's no depth. Probably why it looks so odd. The prompt is party, and using the random prompt pot, which is this. I literally made this at the start of the year in an art vlog. It's just lots of different pieces of paper. Well, the prompt that we got was glasses, and rather than putting glasses on the parson, we've got a champagne glass. Probably should have used a ruler. This is looking a little bit funky. I don't know why I'm scared of using a ruler in art. I guess it's because I don't want to make it look too stiff, but I mean, this glass is looking very flexible. For this piece, I wanted to practice painting teeth. It kind of looks really creepy. Like, I recently watched the horror film Smile, and it's reminded me of that. Moving on, radish. Radish is an interesting prompt. I don't really know what else you could do, and there were a lot of radishes on my feed. Also, I never would have painted one without this prompt, and it was actually quite fun. I like that it's pretty flat colors, and it's literally just like straight from the tubes. I think this is one of my favorites. Oh, and by the way, this piece and every other one from this year's Peachtober is now up on my InPrint store. So if you fancy getting this or any others as a print or sticker, that's where you can find them. I've also got last year's on there too. And if you fancy getting any as a phone wallpaper, I've got my Etsy link down below. They're all on there. But I'm thinking for next year's Peachtober, we're not actually going to use a sketchbook. I'm thinking of creating originals for next year's. Possibly, I think that could be really exciting. Moving on to number 25, the prompt is stone. This is India ink, and I also toned this sword before adding some alcohol markers. This paper dried so fast. Like, I wet the entire page, including the sword. I just put water on the entire page. I did a couple of drops, and then I did this spiral, and it literally was dry. That's less than 10 seconds. And the page was already dry in certain places. Yeah, it was a little bit frustrating. It's a cool idea, and I like that the sword looks kind of muted. Next up, backpack. For the prompt backpack, I attempted to draw Dora the Explorer in my art style. I still have mixed feelings. I think I really like the piece. I do think I really like it, but there were no skin tones that were working for this. The colors are a bit crazy, but it's very much like every time I look at it, I'm either like, oh, that's really good, or did that work? I think it worked. I think. 27 is grass. I painted a cow. Actually ended up putting a lot of colour pencil on top because it just was not working. I put a lot of watercolour on the page. You can see it here. And it kind of just made an absolute mess. So the colour pencils, I think, saved it. 28 is pony. A girl with a ponytail riding a pony with a ponytail. This one actually went quite well considering it's watercolour on this paper. Didn't use colour pencil or anything. I wanted it to stand out from the previous one. The only slight problem is that I think this face is very dark. It has a lot of contrast compared to this face. Possibly should have done like a little bit more on the ears just to really darken that purple. But I mean, considering it's like the size of my thumb, I think there's quite a bit of detail there, and it still has those watercolor elements that got lost in the previous one. Still, I think it kind of redeemed itself. Next up, the prompt is break. This is from a video that I actually took. Oh, that was a couple of years ago now. We filled a tiny little holiday sketchbook together. In 2 days, painted the entire thing. And this is from that. So this is actually the second time that I've done this scene. But this time I drew it in alcohol markers. This is acrylic. And last time it was watercolor. I do think the alcohol markers look a little bit different. I don't know, it looks a little bit more like textured. I'm not really used to alcohol markers at all, but I got to use them a lot for this challenge. Prompt 30 is pearl. This one I actually used my gouache palette for. I actually like the look that this one has. I do think the paper kind of pilled a little bit here. I don't know if you can see. There's like little bits of stuff, which I think is part of the paper. I think this one's a cute idea though, and it does kind of look like pearls, which was obviously what I was aiming for. The background is a lot messier than I was planning. The kelp is kind of the wrong shade, but I do still like it. The final prompt was spider. I knew for this prompt I didn't want to draw a spider. I sort of thought about it and I thought, how can I make it cute? But at the end of the day, I didn't want to draw a spider. And then I decided to write the end. And I completed Peachtober in 9 days, just to remember. It was an interesting way of creating, but I don't want to do it again. Well, that was a lot of fun having a little look back. I think this year's is very different to last year's. If you want to see any more art challenges or sketchbook tours, I'll leave them down below. Have a lovely rest of your day. Can you believe Christmas is now coming up? I can't. I'll see you on Thursday for a new video. Bye-bye.